All right, Joe, or John, thanks for letting me do this. Now, I am kind of curious if you guys want to go through the foreclosures based off of the slides that I have prepared, if you just kind of want to just get into the meat and potatoes of it. Um, so what would you prefer?
Meat and potatoes.
There you go. I agree.
Awesome. So yeah, the slides
Well,
pretty much go over it, but we can just go straight into the meat and potatoes. So with pre-foreclosures, what it is somebody has gotten into a situation where they can't make their mortgage payment and they missed one payment. And because they missed that one payment, the bank won't let them make their next payment until they bring the loan current. So somebody got behind on their payment for whatever reason. We don't know. We haven't talked to them. All right. So they've been delinquent on it. They hit what was called a notice of default stage where the bank sent an official letter out to them saying you're in default. Then it transitions to a substitute trustee where the bank hires an attorney to start the foreclosure process. And the pre-foreclosure stage happens when they get a foreclosure date on that process. So these type of potential listings or people, and I don't look at them just as listings, I look at them to help the person. You can find them at the notice of default stage going through a title company.
mhm.
You can find them at the substitute trustee stage going through your title companies, or you can find them at the pre-foreclosure stage. Now you can find these on your own. You can pay for them through RedX, through Mojo, Vulcan 7, Fiverr. I find them on my own. Everybody on this call, I believe, is a realtor. We have access to what's called RPR.
Mhm.
And Matthew and I kind of went over a little bit. A bunch of you guys are in Austin. Travis County is difficult to find. But if you go into RPR and you go into the settings on it, and that is actually one thing I did not bring up, and I will share that. John, if you let me share my screen, I will show you guys real quick how to do that.
You got it, buddy.
All right. So if I come in, and you guys should all be seeing my RPR screen. If I bring up Austin, Texas, because I know a bunch of you guys are there, I select Austin, Texas. I come into filters and I say I want single family homes, townhomes. Let's go with mobile homes, multifamily. We want public records, what you see right here. Then we're going to scroll down and we're going to select this box that says foreclosure, not auction. And we don't want to exclude, we want them included. The foreclosure short sale, this is going to give you the short sales, the notice of defaults. Those NODs are really old. The foreclosure bank owns, these ones have already been sold. Unfortunately, most of these will also already been sold. On the dates, we don't need to put in a date on it. We're just going to leave it blank. This section right here is what I call creating your hit list. Okay, if you want to do this manually, it's not always the easiest thing. That gives us a list of everybody. This house here most likely has already been done. They've received a notice of trustee and RPR's got it. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you're going to find this section that says mortgages and deeds, and you click on the distress tab. This distress tab is going to show you who the current trustee is. Each one of these different law firms handle it. All right. So these different law firms are the ones that have been hired to handle the foreclosure process on these people. So the first step I do when I manually do this is I go ahead and identify all these different law firms. For my area, I have 12 of them,
Mhm.
and every area is a little bit different. So we'll just take BWW Law Group. That's one of the big ones here. And it just pops up Virginia sales. This is every single county that they're handling a foreclosure for.
Mm.
If you come down here, it's like January 17th, February 14th, December 13th. This is every single one. If I come to Norfolk, where I'm currently located at, those are all the foreclosures they're handling right there in my city. My city has 7 cities around it, though. So now I have the address, I have the foreclosure date, and I can actually go to these people with value. You're going to need to be able to skip trace each one of these. Well, all of us have access to tax records. So we can take this address right there and say, okay, we're going to look at 25, 30, middle avenue. We're going to go into tax records. We're going to validate the owner. Well, you can also do that right here on RPR. And it tells you this home that we looked up here in Austin, Texas, is owned by FHL Homes LLC. And there's the mailing address. That'll be something important here in the future because that mailing address is different than the actual property address. So step one, create your hit list. You can create that by paying somebody else to do it. And I pay somebody else. I pay my assistant to go into these 12 different sources and compile my list. And my list looks like this. So let me shrink this so I can get to my bottom tab. I have all the people I help, the people I'm currently working with, the ones that I've contacted with no appointments, all my new leads, and my current pre-foreclosures. Well, on this list here, there's currently 127 people I'm working with or trying to reach out to. That doesn't include all the ones that I've already killed because I've talked to, they said they don't want any help. And there's 373 people. Now, about 50 of those have passed their foreclosure date, but there's no record that the property's been sold. There's a lot of stuff out there. Now, I'm not trying to buy their house. I'm not trying to sell their house. And that's the next thing, is I approach these folks with value. This is a PDF that I created, a landing page that I put out there on social media occasionally, just on 10 ways to avoid foreclosure. These top 10, although this says in Virginia, applies everywhere. People can reinstate their current mortgage. Yet a lot of folks don't think about the fact that there's a 401k they might have. And yeah, that's a long-term investment thing. But if you have $100,000 in equity in your home, if you tap into $20,000 from that 401k, you take the 10% tax penalty on it, you pay the taxes on it, you just reinstated your mortgage. If you can afford your bills, you just kept yourself in a 2%, 3% mortgage. And guess what that does for you? That makes it where you can now continue to build that equity, maybe tap into that equity and fix some other things. But you also just became their favorite realtor. And I've picked up referrals in Pennsylvania, in South Carolina, just from helping people stay in their houses. That buyer consultation I told you about last week was a past pre-foreclosure. We kept them in their house. Then it wasn't going to work, so we sold their house to an investor. And now they're looking at buying again, and they're a new buyer client. But all these different options, there's 10 different ways that every state it works. Now, each state's different. We have what's called a judicial system and a non-judicial system when it comes to foreclosures. The basic difference is one of them, the foreclosure has to happen inside the court system. The other one happens through the court system. Each state's a little bit different. But if you look at these on the liquidation side, you have assumption, deed in lieu, short sale, equity sale, but you also have creative financing. Every one of you guys have worked with an investor looking to take over payments, which is a subject to a creative financing deal where I give you $20,000 now and I make you payments over the next 5 years and then a balloon payment. There's so many creative options out there. If you talk to Michael Wiseman, he'll tell you all of us are investors and we can all buy any house that's out there subject to the right terms. All right. The next thing is having a simple presentation to talk to them. If you can get that appointment to sit down and talk to them, I take that flyer and I put it really simple. My whole goal is to actually be there and help you. It's not to sell your house. I start with education to make sure our goals align. I want you to avoid foreclosure. If any of you guys know anyone who's been foreclosed on, you know that it impacts their credit report. That means when they borrow money, it costs more. Employers, they pull your credit report. When you go to rent, there's some places that won't let you rent if you have a foreclosure on your credit report. So now they're going from one type of community to another because they can't get in there. But then I take each one of those different talking points and I put them on a simple slide and I sit down with them and I explain everything to them one step at a time. I even go into the short sale process for those that don't know it. Unless you guys have been doing short sales or you've been in the business for 20 years, you probably haven't done a short sale. They are complicated. Bring in an outside expert. Where I'm at, Coleman and Coleman Law Group does them. I use advanced short sale services, but bring in an expert. But ultimately, and it's just a quick, simple presentation because my idea is let's sit down, let's have a conversation, find out what you want to do, and go from there. All right. So I told you that we go ahead and do it, and I already showed you my pre-foreclosure list. I keep 2 extra lists. When you go to those different law firms, and if you do it that way, you're going to find out that every single person that makes their list, they all make it a little bit different. This law firm, they format theirs that format. It's city, file, bid, property, principal, assessed, and then auction date. The next one I go to is city, or it's address, city, deposit, and sale date. Another one, it's in a PDF format, and it's jurisdiction, file number. So my VA, she comes in and copies these all over to a tab. And that's why we run a separate sheet over so we can keep everything in the same order. That way, when we look at it and everything goes in this specific order, and there's hidden cells here, which have all the phone numbers, because this format I can directly import into a triple line dialer. And the reason that's important is because I have a multi-touch system, and my multiple touch system is really simple. I use an all of the above process. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mail you a letter. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to load you into that dialer and I'm going to call you. And it's going to give me bad numbers. It's going to go ahead and give me wrong numbers, and it happens. But it's really simple. When somebody answers the phone, and I think a lot of you guys have heard my script, today's Tuesday. It's John, Joe Grant, happy Tuesday. Whatever you say doesn't matter because I'm just listening. One, did you acknowledge the fact that I'm calling for John? If you did, awesome. I know I have a John on the phone. Next, I'm looking to see if you said something to me like happy Tuesday to me back, or you asked me how I am, I'm going to respect you. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. And then I'm going to go into it. Hey, your property at 123 Banana Boulevard, it's been scheduled for a foreclosure. And this call's not for me to make an offer to buy that house. I help homeowners avoid foreclosure through free education. I covered 10 ways to avoid foreclosure. What are you actively doing to avoid foreclosure? Just ask the question. I think you have the wrong address. I'm not the right person. Or they'll tell me what they're doing. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're taking a proactive approach. Do you have a plan B if that doesn't work out? Mm-hmm. The idea is to get in front of them because a loan modification is the best thing that they can do that's the most successful. But if you have a 3% interest rate, a loan modification right now is going to be a 6.5%, and that's going to double their payment. Mm-hmm. They might not be able to afford it. Mm-hmm. And I have a script in front of me that I do it. And although I've internalized it, I still keep my script up. Then I go and I text every single one of those numbers. And I use a Michael Wiseman approach. And that one is pretty simple. It's, John, please forgive me if I have the wrong number. Your phone number is associated with a property up for foreclosure. I'm not trying to buy your house. I'm simply trying to provide free education to help you avoid foreclosure. If I have the wrong number, I apologize. If I have the right number, please use the link below to schedule a time on my calendar to discuss your options. And what I end up doing is, I believe it's this page. Everybody gets right here onto my Calendly app, and they just find a time that works best for them. And then it's name, email, phone number, preferred method of communication. Do you know what triggered your foreclosure? Was it the mortgage, a reverse mortgage, taxes, liens? Every one of these comes up with a different solution. If it's a reverse mortgage, are you the spouse of the person that took it out? There's legal aspects with an attorney you can get back into it. If you're the heirs, there's not a lot you can do. You have to pay the amount or liquidate the property. There's not a lot of options they have. But I use Calendly to go ahead and schedule that up. Any questions so far?
You know, you hit it right on the spot. I was just going to say, Can we open this up for questions? Because I think there is a ton of really valuable stuff here.
The only other thing is a
Can you
lot of
guys,
stuff is automated.
yeah, Joe, hit stop screen share so I can get everybody up here on our view. Okay, there we go. Good, 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 good.
Joe, why would you not use a service to pull the data that your assistant has to go dig and find? What's the reason for that?
All right, so Mojo charges me $50 a county to do it. So instead of like Travis County, which covers a bunch of cities, Norfolk City is also Norfolk County. Hampton is city is Hampton County. So the dollars that I would pay for each one of my 7 cities at $50 each is $350 a month. I pay my VA less. It takes her less time to go ahead and pull it. So it's more cost effective financially for her to spend 4 hours a week updating those weekly. And then she also uploads them into my dialer.
Joe, can you talk about the campaigns that you set up in KV Core?
Yeah, so once I talk to somebody, I've got an API set up in Mojo to push it straight to my KV Core, and it's all tagged off of the status. If it says pre-foreclosure, it'll start a 13-touch campaign of text and email to remind them that, hey, you talked about it. It's somebody who wanted to schedule an appointment, but we couldn't lock it down on a specific date. I have another one that's called pre-foreclosure cancel. So once we get it canceled, I tag them inside there with that. That's a 31-touch 1-year campaign that does nothing but offer value. At the 6-month mark, it tries to get an in-person appointment to where we can sit down and say, hey, what do your finances look? I've got a financial counselor I work with. Hey, at the 1-year mark, have you thought about refinancing your house? Let's see if your credit's good enough to do that. The other ones is a pre-foreclosure appointment held follow-up. That's just a quick 9-touch where we held our appointment and it's, hey, you wanted to retain. What are you doing? Have you taken the steps? And it's just short little text messages. But yeah, I've got 7 different campaigns, all with different hashtags to trigger them.
Darren has his hand up. Darren Mancuso.
I just got a quick question about Mojo Dialer. And I'm assuming that you've checked them all out and have figured out which one's the best. When I get calls from dialers, it makes that little beep noise. Like before I pick it up and it goes boop. And then like I pretty much know it's somebody that's going to try to pitch me something. Does Mojo Dialer or do they all do that? Or what have you found with that?
So that sound, that is an overseas connection. That is requirement by FAA to be connected whenever an overseas person's calling you.
So since you're calling locally, it's not going to make that noise.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Joe, I have a question for you. We're going to have to wrap this up, guys, because I have a 9:30. First of all, huge value today. I'm going to watch this video over and over and take a lot of notes because, Joe, you blew my mind. To the average real estate agent who's just starting out with pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, the most simple advice you can give to those agents, Joe, what would it be?
Start with one city, get one investor that you trust 100% to work with. If somebody wants to sell off market, go to him, get a referral fee from him. Don't sell yourself short on dollar mark, but you want to call, text, email, message them on social media. If I'm looking for John Dietz in Tampa, Florida, I'm going to find a bunch of John Dietz, but if I can't find the one in Tampa, Florida, I'm not going to message you. But I create templates for everything. I blind carbon copy my email out to everybody for day 1, 2, 3. I have 10 emails I send, and they're already pre-written as signature blocks. And it just says PF1, PF2, PF3 through 10. And I've made it so where it's easy. I can send all those emails at once. But I track it that way. And the best thing, it's the worst value of your time is door knocking, but it's 100% guaranteed to get you the right person unless it's a renter. I can knock on 4 to 6 doors in an hour, but I can call 300 phone numbers in an hour on a triple line dialer if nobody picks up.
That's right.
So, but I get better results when I go door knocking. So I'll only do that 1 day a week, but you still get results. So everything works. You just have to work it. And I just put in the chat a couple different links. One of them is Logs Legal's Texas report thing by county. It's every county in Texas. The next one is the current active foreclosure listings for the month of January for a ton of different counties in Texas. Like I said, I know most of you guys are in Texas, so I only pulled those. And the other one is Mackey Wolf and Zane Mann, which is their investor page, which has, actually that was the PDF for them. So that's their source page. So every time they put out a new one, which is every month, you'll be able to find theirs right there. And that's every county in Texas that they handle.
Joe, so valuable. Thank you so much for sharing today. I got a ton of value, and I know everybody else here did as well. There's lots of comments in the chat. So you did an amazing job, my friend. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so reading chat. By the way, guys, if you want to reach me, I'm 727-686-0404. Reach out anytime, 727-686-0404. Joe, specifically, where are you? I know you're in Virginia. Remind us again, where in Virginia are you?
Hampton Roads, Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area, right there by the North Carolina border.
All right. You got referrals for that area. There's your guy. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being on Survive to Thrive today. If it was your first day, so grateful that you're here. Thank you for joining us. Come back again. We're 4.5 years, coming up on 5 years doing this every day from 9 to 9:30. So I most likely will be here tomorrow. Hopefully you guys will be as well. That was sarcasm. Make it a great day.
Hey, John,
Yes.
could I get your number again?
727-686-0404. All right.
And that whole streamed live on my Instagram
thank
feed. So while I suck on social, I did just run it right there.
You're amazing, buddy. Thank you so much.
Fantastic job, Joe. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Wow.
Really good. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, guys, go get them.